Hi, my name is Luke Homan, founder and CEO of Contenio. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to create a new framework from scratch using any image that you want to power your collaboration. Let's say you work for a company that makes apparel and you're interested in creating a pair of internet-enabled hiking boots. Now, you could use Prune the Product Tree, for example, to get ideas from your customers, but you're thinking that a more tailored image where a boot and a mountain and maybe some other ideas about that image would help your participants give you feedback on where they would like to see the internet integrated into hiking boots. You're right. We find that when you can tailor an image that best meets the needs of your participants, you're going to get the best results. Let's see how to do that. The first is to make sure that you're clear about your goal. In this case, our goal is to solicit ideas that we can use to power our innovation program. Well, now once we know that, it's easier. We can select or create images aligned to your goals. In just a moment, I'll talk about a few of the strategies that we use at Contenio to get the right images. And once I have my image, then the process is fairly straightforward. I'm going to create a new idea engine framework, and once I've created my new framework, I'm going to go ahead and name it and describe it. I'm going to select, in this case, and upload the background image. I'm going to select the item images that are appropriate to add to that image. I'm going to create my regions and region groups and layers. And finally, I'm going to go ahead and place any initial items. Now, as typical, if the framework is being used to solicit ideas, you won't have any initial items. If the framework is being used to get feedback on existing ideas, you're going to put those existing ideas into the framework for your participants. Once I do all these things, I've got a framework and I'm ready to go. Now let's talk about a few strategies that you can employ to create images or leverage images off the internet. The first is that you can create the image in PowerPoint or a drawing tool like Snagit and save it as a PNG file. This is how we often work at Contenio for business-oriented images where I'm going to have things like rectangles and circles and squares and things like that. I use PowerPoint. When I want to have a little bit more sophistication or a bigger drawing surface, I use Snagit. Now, the next approach is to sketch your image on a piece of paper and then photograph it or scan it, and again, save it as a PNG. As you can tell, Weave wants you to upload images in PNG format. Now, a third option is to use clip art. I want to remind you that you are responsible for confirming that you will have the rights to use any images you download off the internet within Weave. You can also ask a friend or someone with artistic skills. For some of the work that we've done, we've found terrific results by hiring high school students or college students. Finally, if you get stuck and you need someone to talk with, contact us. Ask Contenio. We're happy to help you create the images that you need. Let me give you a few examples of each of these approaches. Here is an example of a framework that we call Top 5 Worst 5, in which participants identify the best and worst things that are associated with a process. This image was created in PowerPoint, and you can select that and simply save it as a PNG from PowerPoint. From there, you can upload it into Weave and create the regions that match the image. Now, when we were creating this image, our VP of Sales, Laura Richardson, decided that, this felt a little cold, and she wanted to see if she could create a warmer version by drawing it by hand. So Laura created this version, which has the same semantic content or the same intention, but it's a more warm and inviting drawing. And this is what we ended up putting into Weave as a publicly available framework. Now, you can also find lots of clip art in the world, and you can ask lots of friends to help you. And lastly, when we get really high-end professional work, we'll find artists to create exactly what we need. This is an image of a supermarket that we created for a project identifying feedback on supermarket control systems. And it made sense to make this image highly photorealistic related to a supermarket so that the supermarket store managers could really put the items into the image exactly where they wanted. Let's go ahead and return to the internet-enabled trail hiking shoes and see how I can create a custom image using Google search, freely available images from the internet, Snagit, and Weave. So the first thing I want to find for my trail running shoes connected to the internet is a pair of trail running shoes. So I'm going to go to Google and type in trail running shoes. Now, what I'm looking for are images, so I'm going to click on the Images tab. And what we find is that clip art works best. So I'm going to go ahead into my tools of the image search. I'm going to search for the type of an image is clip art, and I'm going to make sure that my usage rights are labeled for reuse. And I'm kind of scrolling through here, and I'm looking at shoes, and this one looks pretty good. Now, I can hold on the Mac my Control key, click on my mouse, and I can see that I can copy the image. I'm going to go ahead and go over to Snagit. I'm going to paste that image. It's a little big, not too big, but I'm going to go ahead and resize it and kind of put it over here. So I've got my shoe, and that's a place where my participants can give me ideas about how they might want to see a shoe improved. I still want to get a mountain, so I'm going to go back to the top, and I'm going to just type in mountain using the same search criteria, images labeled for reuse. I look through there, and I'm seeing some ones I like. This one looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and copy that image, add it to Snagit, kind of position it the way I want. Maybe I kind of can organize them a little bit like this. Maybe make this one a little bit smaller, expand the canvas. So I've got these placed where I want. And now what I want to be able to do is go ahead and save this as an image compatible with Weave, which is a PNG. I'm going to select at the top File, Save As, and I'm going to say that what I want to do this is I want to have this as my Internet of Things, IoT, trail hiking ideas. So I've got an image and it's ready to go. Now let's go ahead and create a framework within Weave that leverages this image. Now that I've got my background image all ready to go, I want to go ahead and create a new framework in Weave to leverage it. I'm going to select my Framework tab, and in the top right, I'm going to click the plus button. That gives me the opportunity to create a new framework. In this case, I want to create a new idea generation framework, or in other words, a framework based on a visual image. I select New Ideation Generation Framework, and I'm presented with the framework editor. And the first thing I see is no background image yet, and I want to choose your background image from the panel on the right. Let's go ahead and start there. I click on the image in the top right, and I know that the image isn't in Weave yet, so I'm going to go ahead and upload the new image, choosing the file from my Pictures directory where Snagit saved it. I select that item, I open it up, and I add it to Weave. Now you'll see that there's a background image preview and that you can have two dimensions, a custom size, which is whatever size your image uploaded as, or an iPad-friendly size. The vast majority of the time, you're going to want to go with the custom size or the size of the image in which you uploaded. And I'm going to call this my IoT trail hiking image. I'm going to save that image, adding it to Weave, and now I'm going to click on it to select it and use it as my background image. It looks good to go. So now let's add the rest of the information about my framework. This is my IoT trail hiking framework. And its description is a framework to get ideas on how we can integrate a trail hiking shoe to the internet. Now my regions are a little bit tricky here because what I want to do is I want to provide an opportunity for my participants to solicit ideas. So first, I want to know if the basic idea that they're adding is associated with the shoe or the terrain. So I'm going to first start with a broad area by capturing a square around the shoe. And I'm going to say that this is my shoe, and it's part of my broad area. And the second is the terrain itself. Now, sometimes when you're in an ideation session or a brainstorming session with customers, you're going to want to have a possibility that they could submit other ideas. So let's add a third region, and we'll just call it Other Ideas, and we'll put it down over here in the right. And this is just a holding place for whatever ideas that they may come up with. Now I've got everything I need to have a well-run forum except images. I need to go ahead and add some images, so let's look at what we might find in terms of our image palette that would meet our needs. Now, I could use unicorns for crazy ideas, I could use the sun for bright ideas, or I could simply use Post-its to represent kind of the normal ideas, or I could grab my smiley faces about things that might make me happy or things that make me sad. I recommend trying a few icons to see which work best in some test forums. Once you've identified which icons work best, you can then edit your framework and make sure that you're using the framework icons that work best for your customers. When you're finished, you have a new framework within Weave ready to go. It's tailored exactly to meet your needs with the images that you want in terms of how you can structure that collaboration.